your girl.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Natrix Show, and today I have a special guest with me introducing
Katrina.
period. And today we're going to be talking about a little secret. Come here, guys. Let me tell you something. If somebody is comfortable talking about everybody to you, they talking about you too. Yep. Soon as you get up, soon as you turn back around, soon as you agree with them and you get on up, they talking about you too, okay? So, before Katrina gets into a little story time, I'm going to just let y'all know that most times you really have to watch out for the people that are there for you, the people that kind of monitor your journey, and they hear a lot about what you're going through, but they don't even tell you about what they be going through themselves. Like, before you know it, you realize you share more with them than they share with you. Those are definitely the people that's gossiping and telling your business to the ABC News, sweetheart. You need to, first of all, recognize, understand, and cut it out and get it together. And today we're going to help you with some tips, tricks, and understanding the difference between facts and gossip, because there definitely is a difference. Would you like to give them a little story time, little tea time?
So, relating to my story, especially based upon one of my past jobs, or just like in general, something I tend to notice is that whenever I do go into a workspace and I'm starting to get comfortable with the coworkers, or they're starting to get comfortable with me, you'll definitely have the one that is the gossiper. You can just straight up tell. And at first it starts off as far as like, oh yeah, this was happening at the job, that was happening, and this and that and a third.
Little
and
updates.
Yeah, like updates to where it seems like, okay, they're just keeping you well informed.
Exactly.
And they're just letting you know, like, who's the person that's, like, starting the mess as far as, like, why work is disorganized.
So you think and you get comfortable because you feel like they're helping you out. I mean, they're coming to you, they're letting your defenses down by, look out for this person, that, you know what I'm saying? And that's obvious, you know, naturally we're going to disarmor ourselves, right?
Exactly. And that's how it was for me. And it's like, okay, now we're building rapport, we're getting along well, and like they ended up being like one of my favorite people at the job, because it's like they always got something funny to say and stuff, like matching personalities. And then it kept going sour because I wouldn't know if they would talk crap about me unless one of my other good coworker friends, who I knew longer than the other person, was able to let me know. And I wouldn't have known, because at first it started off with like smaller petty things that happen at work, and they're letting me know like, oh yeah, that's what that person said too, as far as like reaction. I'm like, wait, what? Why are y'all getting comfortable in the first place? You were my friend first, okay? Like, when did this happen? And it's like, okay, it's whatever, because it's like a minor little cute thing. But then, depending too, if they're a little too comfortable with you, they're also going to try talking sideways to you in front of you, at least like one of my perspectives. And then you can see the difference in how they treat other people as well, and just seeing how, okay, I think us getting a little too comfortable means you can disrespect me in any type of way, even outside of the doors, even when my back is turned, and now I have to worry about that. Now I just know how to deal with you moving forward. And just in general, just keeping that boundary as far as, yeah, from now on, I'm keeping I'm keeping things that's not within the workspace within myself and outside these doors. And you're only going to know what you need to know.
Yes,
so,
because if somebody is constantly updating everybody on what's going on with such and such, they're updating people about you too, sweetheart. You sitting here thinking that this person has your best interest. No, honey, we all know. When you tell one person, everybody knows. So you got to think of it as only share things that you want everybody to know, because that's ultimately what's going to happen. So now we want to get into a little bit of a teaching moment. So I'm going to kind of read off some things that I personally feel like are the difference between facts and gossiping. And then Katrina will also come in and add her input on anything that I say, okay? So first of all, what's the difference between facts and gossiping, sweetheart? Because a lot of y'all need to know the difference. I mean, it's getting to the point that it is just coming down to self-awareness. I mean, I don't even know how else to say it. Right?
Common sense is not so common no more either.
So number one, y'all, the difference between facts and gossiping lies in the intention. It depends on what you're even saying something for, especially when it's somebody else's business. If you are just going on a rant and everything and just kind of talking off somebody's ear out of boredom, then that is definitely a form of gossiping, because it's like, what prompted this response? What prompted this information? How does this even correlate with anything? And I'm really not even trying to be funny, but most of y'all need to have that question asked, because if we ask that, it'll kind of fact check y'all and make y'all like, okay, I'm doing a little too much, right? And that kind of goes into when you're unable to hold a conversation without gossip. There is no reason on this earth, with so much going on as far as climate, politics, the freaking financial department, something, college, school, sweetheart, you got a bucket list or something, sweetheart. There is so much stuff to talk about other than somebody else's business. I mean, there's just too much. And that's just a few to name of things. If you cannot talk to people about something else other than that, sweetheart, that is where the problem lies. Maybe your only source of spark, maybe your only passion lies in other people's business, and I'm gonna need you to go get baptized or something, because that is not normal. It's not healthy, sweetheart. There is something going on internally.
Or get a job, you know.
Pick up another shift at this point. I mean, you got so much time to be on ABC 7 News. I'm gonna need you to get another shift. Yeah, I mean, obviously you bored. You need something else to do.
Or touch grass. You know, nature is...
Okay, because grounding,
green is
when
beautiful.
You are grounded within yourself, it works wonders, and trust me, babe. Because half of y'all that's judging that concept haven't even tried, and I know that from facts, all right?
And y'all probably don't got no hobbies.
Thank
probably
you.
Bored and miserable out your lives.
Learn
you probably
how
don't
to
want to
sew,
talk about your own dirt.
Learn how to sew. I don't know. Do something. Bake at this point. Have a little sell-off. Go on, what's that thing where you could Eventbrite at this point? They have meetup groups, sweetie. If you don't have any friends and your only source of connecting with people is gossip, you need to go on meetup groups or whatever it's called, and you need to go get you some forced friends, because I mean, something's better than nothing.
And you can genuinely tell with these people, like, if they're the type where nothing's really going on with their lives and they're bored. Miserable.
You're
because
bored
when you
and
ask them
happy.
Questions about themselves,
there's
and they're
nothing.
just more
There's
like,
no gossip and no tea, baby, because as juicy as these stories about such and such are, and your life is that boring, that tells me what I need to know already. Because as much detail as you give it, there's no detail about your own self. That's sad. That's sad. So, moving on to the next one as well. If it's coming from a place of, I mean, obviously, let's say, I want to say another point of it being a fact versus gossip is concern. If you are concerned for somebody else and you're just looking out for them, which is natural, that's different than gossiping. Because I'm going to need to know if such and such did something to that person. I'm going to need to know if such and such takes credit for other people. So I'm going to need to know if such and such is somebody I got to look out for. And if you genuinely care and you're a genuine person, you going to let somebody know. And most times the person is going to come off non-judgmental. They're just going to be like, look, I ain't trying to start nothing. I'm not trying to say nothing, but all I'm going to say is be careful, and that's normal. That's okay, right? But it's a difference when you're just judgmental and it's coming out of nowhere, baby. Because why are we at brunch and you talk about how such and such, they got 15 kids that's hidden on the island? What does that have to do with brunch? What does that have to do with your life? What that got to do with my bank account? How is that contributing to me? And we weren't even talking about such and such, you know? When the time permits and you bring something up, sure, we can count that as a fact, right? When there is no type of leeway into that conversation and you bring it up, that is different, okay? Now, let me tell y'all something. We love tea, okay? We love tea. And we close, we like this. So we love a good juicy story. But when it makes sense, we're going to tell each other. She don't tell me nothing that's jumping off a cliff and a bridge. It has nothing to do with nothing. And I don't tell her nothing that don't correlate with nothing that we're talking about, right?
It stay hydrated in this house. And
we
keep it that way.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. It's hydrated, baby. It's no wells over here. So we got things to talk about for days, including ourselves. And most times it's about our own journey. You got to be more invested in yourself. There's always something you can improve, sweetheart. Always.
Piggybacking off of the advice that she started off with, especially if someone is cool enough to inform you about what's going on, please do not be the type of person where if you do end up being close with who they were talking about, to try to put them in some bullshit as far as like, yeah, they were telling me this and that and the third when I first started, but you're actually pretty cool because you ended up taking someone's good favor and tried to pretty much use it against them to now start something without probably intending for it. But at the end of the day, what was the purpose of that? And it's not the fact that the person who's informing you was telling you not to be friends with them in general. They were giving you a warning. And if you're going to pretty much pull a whole 360, 9 times out of 10 is going to backfire on you, because things might be good now, but depending on if their warning was right or not, which most times it is, if they have to give you that warning, it's going to fuck you over in the end. Then you're going to look stupid. And now they know not to trust you either. And they probably know now, for anyone else who's coming in, especially within the work environment, they know now not to be the cool person to warn them. And now this person
and then
is
now
like,
you gotta find out the hard way, because somebody done messed it up for the cool person and just such and such. And when somebody is cool enough to put you on the game, sweetie, you never leak the source. And that's honestly common sense. But like she said earlier, common sense is not common. We can't get mad at y'all. We don't know how y'all was raised, so that's just two different stories.
A lot of things that are common ain't common anymore. Common courtesy, common sense, common enforcement.
I'm gonna also say, if something's rooted in more truth than it is your own spin, that's definitely the difference between gossiping. Gossiping is always gonna have a little bit of exaggeration, because again, it's juicy, it's nice, mess is entertaining, right? But it's like, truth is just more so fact. Let's stick with what actually happened and not add the extras, the emphasis and stuff. And I do want to say too, it's okay to bring stuff up sometime when no one asks. Like, let's say someone puts you on to, okay, this person does this, or be careful of that person, and that person says something about the person that's warning you. It's okay to be like, look, between us, like, da 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 da. Because again, you're looking out for the person looking out for you. That's two different things, right? But I want to say another thing is, like, venting about something too, I feel like it's always something where people are like, okay, but honestly, venting is a form of emotional release, and therefore it makes it not gossip. Like, it's different if you're venting about somebody else's business, which I'm genuinely concerned. I'm scared of you. I don't even want to be in the same room as you if you venting and gossiping and somebody else drama, it got your pennies in a bunch. That's a different story. But if you're venting about something that happened to you and it may involve somebody else, and we're going into details about that, then that makes absolute sense, because it's your story. You're just addressing the characters and what happened, and that's okay. If it gets messy in the story, it gets messy. But again, venting is just letting people know. It's all about venting to the right people. So before we move on to our little game where we're pretty much going to show the specific difference between truth or gossip, I'm going to ask Katrina, do you have anything else to add as far as like the difference between truth and gossip?
Yes, because especially relating to the last points, and especially when it comes to like what she was explaining, how especially when it comes to like a venting session, I feel like for me, especially if people come to me and you can tell like they're venting, if they're the type of person where you can tell they just need like a good minute or a few, and then they can move on and function because now they know how to move forward, like that's different. And it's not like the type of thing that's like dragging you down emotions, which that's a whole other topic in of itself that she can probably talk about next time. But just in general, like there's a difference between that and someone who you can tell just wants to vent and isn't solution oriented. Yeah. And even if they aren't solution oriented, if it's something that keeps dragging with them to the point where they bring it up every single chance they get, every time they talk to you, to the point where they forget they told you in the first place, avoid that. Yeah. Also avoid the fact that, especially when it comes to, like, let's say you're on the end where now it's not something you're getting from other people, it's something you're probably inhibiting yourself. Just remembering, like, where, like, what is the intention? Where is this coming from?
Exactly. It all boils down to the intention. And I would like to touch on that point she said, too. The biggest way to tell when somebody chatty patty, sweetheart, I'm talking thugger on them calls, is when they forget that they told you the same tea that they kept repeating, and you like, we knew. I heard that 4 months ago in a row. We already know. Yes, you did not forget to tell me, because you're telling me 2 times in a row.
Let's stick to the current program right now.
No, okay, you are a little bored, because it's no way, like, okay, if it's coming out a 3rd, 4th, No, that's
and now
too
there's
much.
like new spins,
Yeah,
new twists,
and it's a new spin. You know what? Sometimes I do that though. When somebody asks me, "Did I tell you?" I'll be like, "You know what? No, you didn't," because I'm like a little mess too, right? And they always got a different twist on the story. That's how you know, baby, you definitely bored and you need to pick up a new hobby, sweetheart, because it's no way that drama is still sticking with you, number one. Number two, it's no way that it's a different version of the drama if it's coming from a place of fact and concern. And number three, it's no way you don't remember that you told me the story, because that means you're gossiping so much to different people that you don't even know who you told it to, and that's dangerous, because let me tell you something personal, you ain't gonna know who you told that to, so that's dangerous, right?
And on top of that, just also keep in mind, like, really listen to it, because then you can really ask, like, okay, like, what did you do in that scenario? If they're always the neutral party, or if they're always the person who, like, I didn't even do anything and this just happened, or if they're like over exaggerating, or if they're the type where it's like, yeah, I was the good Samaritan and stuff, like take that with a grain of salt, and then fact check it with the other party if they happen to, which I'm not saying start drama, but be smart about how you're getting this information, because sometimes you can bring up different scenarios, and then that can stimulate them to being like, oh yeah, that actually reminds me of like what happened with this and that and da-da-da. And they might actually tell you more of an authentic truth and their actual part into it than what the perpetrator who's telling you in the first place didn't even tell you. And they're over here playing like, oh yeah, I was just da-da-da. Oh, and also, like what she was saying, if they happen to retell the story and you do her advice as far as like, no, I don't think you did tell me, especially if you didn't ask them like, oh, well, what happened, like what did you do and stuff, because they don't remember, then you can tell like how their interactions was different. Then you know, like, okay, I know you're full of shit now. So
and to go to her point too, definitely listen to your instincts, because that's one thing we always talk about on this channel, right? But it's like, you have to make sure, because I'm gonna tell you something, sometimes, like, since we're on the topic of work, sometimes when you're new, people might think you don't know the tea ahead of time and no one warned you, so they will feel comfortable telling you stuff because they think you don't know, and in that sense, makes sense. But if you know somebody also has a tendency to be a little messy, or it's too much a comfort with certain stuff and talking, I would fact check like a mug, because why is that person so comfortable if you not new, just chatty patty with you? Like, and it depends, because if it's like a little sprinkle of shade that person is telling you, that's different. And you know, one thing I am gonna say is, in the Black community, and yes, I'm talking about us, okay, we kind of naturally go through that with our families. We got our aunties, grandma, sisters, babysitters, brothers, cousins, aunties, nieces, nephews, whatever, right? Everybody's telling everybody somebody else's business. You wake up and you on the Family Channel news and you don't even know what you done did, because things are exaggerated. It may be a fact with a little spin on it, and I feel like we naturally kind of go through that, and that's something that we kind of naturally partake in because we're used to that. But we know how it feel when your mama calling up everybody like it's telephone game and everybody know your business, and the more you gossip and you pass it down, the truth is getting watered, baby, because what you finally heard that you done did ain't something you even did. I'm like, I didn't know I did that. Does Ashley know that happened? Does Ashley know that she did that? Because I had no idea, you know?
And sadly, in that scenario, in a family scenario, I think, well, it's easier for me to say it because, especially with therapy and creating stronger boundaries, especially with my family, it's easier for me to advise, like, knowing, like, if you, like, now, sadly, especially when the family unit is supposed to be one of your safest space, and you see that just can't be the case, especially with someone like your mother and stuff. Yeah. Keep up those boundaries from now on.
And it makes stuff feel normal, y'all, but sometimes you gotta grow up and see it's not normal, it's draining, it's annoying, and why? Why? Because go talk to source, or if I know in some circumstances it's no need to talk to source, but it's like, I don't know, like she said, get some boundaries at this point. But we're gonna go into our game, and it's called Facts or Gossip. So once again, this is just scenarios that we're each gonna take a turn pulling a card. We're gonna read the scenario to you guys, and we're gonna say, based on our opinion, is it facts or is it gossip, right? And sometimes some of these scenarios will have nuances. It's not necessarily a fact, it's not necessarily gossip, or it depends. It depends on the scenario. So we're gonna help you guys kind of understand. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting too, because I'm gonna learn a lot from my friend too, just based on the scenarios, and I think it's gonna be really funny. So without further ado, here are the stack of cards, and she's gonna pull first, and then if she wants me to kind of elaborate how I feel on something, she'll let me know, and vice versa.
Okay.
So you go first, friend.
My first card is facts or gossip. You tell a friend about someone else's health diagnosis. Okay. I would say it depends.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this because let's say you work with your friend, because I was able to have different circumstances like that several times.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever, like, depending if like the person themselves told me to the point where like they are telling other people, but they're not necessarily like overspreading it, because there was a scenario where they needed to tell me, like, oh yeah, like I have epilepsy, and that's sort of why, like, if you see me in these certain scenarios, like, that's why. In that context where it's a safety concern that affects them, so that way, like, they told me to look out for that, or look out for them in that case, and they're clearly telling other people, they're not like overspreading it as like a factual fact. Or if they probably did, but now that my friend's here, they didn't know at the time, then it's like, okay, like, yes, like, it's a health diagnosis, we work with them. Like, yeah, like, especially in, like, a warehouse setting, like, oh, like, we try to make sure that Miss Gordon over here doesn't lift the heavier stuff because she has arthritis in her stuff. Like, that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Versus, like, oh, like, I heard she ended up getting herpes from like sleeping around with and then it goes into, it's like that was unprompted.
Like we had a birthday dinner, you talk about how such and such done caught something, and it's like, what did that have to do with anything? Why do we need to know that? And 3, I can't even eat. I'm about to puke because you thought that was cute to bring up at dinner.
Exactly. And especially if someone told you in such an intimate setting, always by default assume not to spread it.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Like that should be the default. Just don't, especially if it's not going to even help the other person out. And if it's more like a, oh, like, I'm curious, like, what's going on with her, I'm not sure, like, you should probably ask her personally yourself, or something like that. If you're so curious, ask them yourself. But even then, just always assume not to spread it anyway.
Exactly. And my opinion wasn't asked, so I'm breaking my rule a little bit, but another scenario I could see this happening is, let's say I bring a friend and Katrina's meeting them for the first time, and let's say we plan a brunch, and I'm like, hey, like, just so you know, such and such can't eat certain things, like, you know, and if it's necessary to mention what they're going through, that makes sense, because we try to prevent a health issue. I'm not getting sued. I'm not getting nothing on my hands, right? So that makes sense. But it's not something that she gotta gossip about, like, oh, she told me that. Like, no, that's because that makes sense. We get it. It's between us. And we see why, because we're looking out for that person.
Actually, that brings me an interesting point. Let's bring up the brunch scenario. So, in this case, you brought up an allergy. Well, what if this friend was bipolar and you didn't tell me that? And it's like, okay, you're doing it for the sake of your friend to like be concerned, but because you're my friend too, and we're having this brunch, and she's acting all types of just weird, and nothing against people with like certain health issues.
We're just, you know, I feel like, okay, it depends, because number one, me, y'all know I'm good at reading people, right? So I wouldn't even pair friends together that I know it's like, nah, you know what I'm saying? But let's just say, like, this is a really good person I would pair with, but they're going through what she said. I would just give her like a warning or a hint in the sense of like, look, you know, sometimes it's necessary depending, because that person should know ahead of time, so they don't, one, take stuff personally, to attack that person if they say or do something, you know, that they're like, what? Like, what's going on with you? You know, I feel like in certain scenarios that makes sense, because when somebody's like that, it could trigger somebody else, especially if they grew up in families where they may have had family members like that, or they've been abused by somebody like that. Like, you never know with people. So I feel like sometimes it makes sense. How about you? Like,
yes, especially if you have to in those certain cases, don't say the diagnosis itself. Like, I brought up bipolar because it was the first thing that I thought of. But if she was to tell me, she can just be like, hey, just to give you
Yeah.
the heads up, she might have like
Mhm.
mood swings here and there,
Yeah.
or like she's a very blunt
Right.
person. Like
Yeah.
she's not very tactful.
Yeah.
If she does overstep
Mhm.
that boundary, don't be afraid to
And
like
I also think you as
call
the
her out.
friend should be there to help. If you know that somebody struggles with that, you should be there to kind of help them and monitor, not just gossip about the condition and be like, okay, let's see how this plays out. You know, that's not what you should do. You should kind of be there and kind of help and monitor so all goes smoothly, you know?
Exactly. And that's a way to make sure that the other person's up on game,
Yeah,
but their
and
personal
everybody feels
business
comfortable.
is
Yeah. So the second one, facts or gossip, y'all. It says you warn a teammate that someone never gives credit to others. I would say definitely let somebody know, but only when it is necessary, and you have to read the person. There's some people that we want to help and warn, and they don't give a damn because they're just as messed up personally as the person we're trying to warn against, you know. But I feel like when you know somebody's a good person, especially in like a workplace or just whatever, because it doesn't always just apply to work, even with family stuff, family businesses and stuff, right? Or just whatever. I feel like it's important because you don't want people to come in and kind of get done wrong, you know, like genuinely. If you're genuine, why not warn the person, you know? And you can always say it in a nice way. It's how you say it, not what you say. So definitely let me know, because I ain't putting my all into somebody that's gonna take the credit.
Yeah.
Okay, and your turn.
D. You say someone is lying about their lifestyle online. Let's see. Is it facts or gossip? When I say someone is lying about their lifestyle.
Like, let's say you want to tell somebody, like, look, I know you follow such and such on the internet and he posts all this stuff, but he don't really got money. He borrowing that Balenciaga from somebody or whatever the case is. Or, like, he don't really live in that house he posting. He blah, 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 blah.
I say it depends because...
Definitely.
I say it depends for a certain reason. So... like, if we bring up that instance, as far as, like, hey, I know you follow this and that and a third. Like, if you just bring it up in that sense where someone's randomly like, oh, yeah, I follow this and that and a third online. I would say it's unwarranted because they should find out for themselves and stuff. But versus, like, if they bring it up to me again as far as, like, yeah, like, we ended up going out and stuff. And I don't know, it just seemed like they're sort of false in that way.
Yeah.
And that's, like, my... like perspective and shit, and the other person is saying like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and that and a third, when we know good damn well he's not.
Yes.
I would keep them up on game, but not directly, because again, like, I would just tell them, I don't know, like, maybe you should try seeing if this and that and a third can be into account.
So
like,
she'll kind of try to, like, lead you to finding out the truth yourself, which is honestly good. And I would say another scenario I could see this playing out is, let's say I got a homegirl that really likes somebody and she thinks that it's what it's giving and it's not. I'm going to be honest with my friend and be like, look, I understand it looked good from behind the camera, but baby, that's not it, you know? So I feel like it's certain instances where it's necessary to call somebody out, and sometimes it's like, hey, that's their business, you know? And honestly, this is making me realize, as long as it's brought up to you and you respond whoop-de-doo, but it's like, if you kind of just unwarranted, you know, like, yeah, you got bigger issues.
Yeah, because in the friend scenario, that would be the time where I'm like, okay, I will actually tell you. Versus, like, someone else that's random, a third party. I don't even know them myself.
Yep.
Like, we're good acquaintances and good passerbyers where we can be, like, good work colleagues. But there's no loyalty there, so I wouldn't know how they would respond and react. Then go the leading questions route as far as, like, okay, well... how else would they do this and that and third? And if they're insistent on asking, like, okay, like, what's your opinions? Opinions-wise, I would also still say, like, keeping it discreet as far as, like, yeah, I can understand your point as far as uncertainty, because that's the case. But my personal opinion, I would confront them directly. Yeah. Because then if they even attempt to, like, pair that to you, like, they couldn't in the first place.
And I'm going to do one more before we jump into part 2, but this is facts or gossip. You say, I don't trust her, and let me tell you why. I would say it depends, because obviously when you close friends, family, anything with somebody, you're bound to give your opinion, right? But I feel like in any other setting, only bring it up if somebody, like, And again, you have to just read people. If somebody that genuinely just doesn't know is telling you, oh, such and such told me this, and like, should I trust it? You could be like, well, look, I like looking out for someone, again, the intention, you know, and you can explain why, but definitely don't force and push it, or like, don't go from like gossiping about that person too. Just stick to like, look, I would be careful, but that's it. Stick to the facts, you know. But other than that, that's what I say. But thank you guys for watching part 1 of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, or comment. And we are going to do a part 2 and wrap it up. Thank you guys.
We'll see you in the after party.